The Walt Disney Company has admitted that their environmental and social agenda differs widely from the audiences they are actually trying to sell their products to, sell their movies to, sell their theme park experiences to. This comes in a new Form 10K released by the SEC. Before we get into this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that bell for notifications. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. Really appreciate that. Helps us grow this channel. So let's get into this here. This is an article I wrote up over on thatparkplace.com. The Walt Disney Company admits that consumers' positions on Disney's environmental and social goals, quote, often differ widely and present risks to our reputation and brands. So in the Walt Disney Company's Form 10K filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, the company outlines a number of risk factors it is facing. One of the bullet points in this section states, we face risks relating to misalignment with public and consumer tastes and preferences for entertainment, travel, and consumer products, which impact demand for our entertainment offerings and products and the profitability of any of our businesses. They are admitting that they are not providing what the audience is demanding. You cannot make this up. They're admitting that they are failing at responding to market demand. Again, let's read this here. We face risks relating to misalignment with public and consumer tastes and preferences for entertainment, travel, and consumer products, which impact demand for our entertainment offerings and products and the profitability of any of our businesses. So they are admitting that what they are creating is not in line with customer demand. So let's go get into this here. Underneath that bullet point, the company says, our businesses create entertainment, travel, and consumer products whose success depends substantially on consumer tastes and preferences that change in often unpredictable ways. The success of our business depends on our ability to consistently create compelling content, which may be distributed among other ways through broadcast, cable, theaters, internet, or mobile technology, and used in theme park attractions, hotels, and other resort facilities, and travel experiences and consumer products. So they're basically just kind of telling you what their business actually is right there. Anyone who knows what Disney does kind of knows all this already. But let's continue here. Such distribution must meet the changing preferences of the broad consumer market and respond to competition from an expanding array of choices facilitated by technological developments in the delivery of content. The success of our theme parks, resorts, cruise ships, and experiences, as well as our theatrical releases, depends on demand for public or out-of-home entertainment experiences. So they're saying that all the things that they are actually creating demands on public demand for them, right? That would make sense, right? Because they are in the entertainment business. Is a luxury item. This isn't a necessity. This is all based on demand for that. People actually want to experience all the things that the Walt Disney Company is offering? They go on to say demand for certain out-of-home entertainment experiences, such as theater going to watch movies, has not returned to pre-pandemic levels. In addition, many of our businesses increasingly depend on acceptance of our offerings and products by consumers outside the United States. So here we go already, blaming the consumer for not wanting what they're doing. Also blaming the COVID-19 pandemic, which just seems to be utterly ridiculous given the success of films like Barbie, films like Oppenheimer. Again, I think this points to the fact that they are creating things that no one is actually wanting to see, because we do see examples of other films, other companies actually succeeding in this quote unquote post-pandemic world. As far as the idea that they're having to need people outside of the U.S. to do that, it's because U.S. people are clearly not aligning with what the company is pushing in their entertainment offerings. It goes on, it says, the success of our businesses, therefore, depends on our ability to successfully predict and adapt to changing consumer tastes and preferences outside as well as inside the U.S. Moreover, we must often invest substantial amounts in content production and acquisition of sports rights, launch of new sports-related studio programming, theme park attractions, cruise ships or hotels, and other facilities or customer-facing platforms before we know. I think that's a spelling on their issue. That is a misspelling on their part. We know the extent to which these products will earn consumer acceptance, and these products may be introduced into a significantly different market or economic or social climate from the one we anticipated at the time of the investment decisions. So they're admitting that they clearly don't understand how the market is going to adapt, and they failed at it enormously on all fronts. I mean, they're naming everything there: sports rights, sports related studio program, theme park attractions, cruise ships, hotels, or other facilities or customer facing platforms. I mean, failure on all fronts there, they're admitting to. They then admitted generally our revenues and profitability are adversely impacted when our entertainment offerings and products, as well as our methods to make our offerings and products available to consumers, do not achieve sufficient consumer acceptance. So they're admitting that the things that they're offering, consumers are not accepting, they are rejecting it. Huge admission here from the Walt Disney Company. But it gets even better. Further, consumers' perception of our position on matters of public interest, including our efforts to achieve certain of our environmental and social goals, often differ widely and present risks to our reputation and brands. There you have it. The Walt Disney Company is not meeting consumer demand because they are pushing their environmental and societal goals, social goals that differ from what the consumer wants. The Walt Disney Company is admitting it right here that they are pushing their environmental and social agenda, and the audience is indeed rejecting it, and it is costing them in both their brand and reputation. And it doesn't look like they are going to change course anytime soon. They are just admitting this is why one of the reasons why their company is sucking right now. The section then concludes: consumer tastes and preferences impact, among other items, revenue from advertising sales, which are based in part on ratings for the programs in which advertisements air. So clearly no one is watching their shows, thus their advertising revenue has declined. Affiliate fees, subscription fees, people aren't subscribing to Disney Plus, they're leaving it. We've seen this. So they're losing money on that front too. I think they had a paltry, maybe like 200,000 gain or whatever, but that doesn't even include all the free subscriptions that people get with like the phone deals and things like that. Theatrical film receipts down. They're admitting that's down. The license of rights to other distributors, that's something that they shot themselves in their own foot with when they decided to pull everything off of Netflix and other licensing deals they had to just put it on Disney Plus and leave it there. So they left a ton of money on the table. They decided to cut their nose off or to spite their face. And then we have this here. Theme park admissions. So they're admitting their theme park admissions are down. Hotel room charges, obviously that coincides with the theme park. People aren't going to their theme park, so they're not spending money on their hotels. And then you have merchandise, food, and beverage sales. So if you're not getting people into the theme parks, your merchandise, food, and beverage sales are going to be down because you just don't have people in there to buy that stuff. Sales of licensed consumer products or sales of our other consumer products and services. So that also reflects the stuff that they're making in the theaters, the TV shows. People aren't buying those toys that are related to those shows and movies. So huge admission here from the Walt Disney Company. Clearly admitting that they have shot themselves in the foot by pushing their environmental and social goals. People are rejecting it and they don't want it anymore. But I don't think that they're going to change any of this. We've seen this time and time again. We had Bob Iger admit last November that he was going to keep all of these social changes, the social agenda in place. He said we could not let that get away. We've seen all of the craziness happening in the parks with men dressing up as women, greeting young children at the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. We've seen them do advertising campaigns with TikTokers and quote unquote influencers dressing up, men dressing up in like young girls' clothes to try and hawk merchandise. They are not going to let this go, and people are rejecting it, and it's costing them at the bottom line. But it does not look like they are going to change course, but they know exactly what they are doing, and we now have proof of it here in this Form 10K that was provided by the SEC. I want to ask you guys, what do you make of what the Walt Disney Company is saying here?